welcome back to the PCC podcast. And today, I think we have our first repeat guest. And
Oh,
that is
shit.
Kim Schaper. Welcome again.
Oh, you're the best. I appreciate you so much. I'm so grateful to be back here. And I'm just like so fortunate that I have you in my corner and you're my friend and you asked me to come back because what you provide to your audience is just phenomenal. So thank you.
Oh, I could say the same for you and your friendship.
Yeah.
So I'm excited today because you have always been someone that I've looked up to for functional health
Oh,
knowledge, hormonal knowledge, and honestly just the like backstory that you have. I know we went into that. If you go all the way back to the beginning of the PCC podcast, Kim was, I believe, the first guest that we had on.
oh my gosh.
But she goes into her health history, kind of the whole story of how she got to where she is today. So we won't make you repeat that today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think just to where you're at right now, are you 45 now or
I
46?
am. I'll be 46 in a couple weeks.
What's your birthday again?
May 3rd. When's yours?
April 30th. So we're
Man,
3 days
you're a
apart.
Taurus.
Yeah.
Okay. No wonder why I love you. Yes. Okay. That makes sense.
I do remember that our birthdays are very close together.
Yes.
But yeah, so 40 going on 46 and like just the way that you walk the walk, like you're in amazing shape. You're not just talking about this stuff, but you're living it. Is another reason why I look up to you because I'm only going to be turning 28. And so I've got a ways to go before I hit that stage of life. And the way you're handling it is wonderful.
Oh, you're awesome. And I forget that you're so young because you're such a wise soul. I mean, I look up to you. I think you're honestly, for the longest time, I thought you were like 38, 36, 38, not because you look that by any means, but because you acted. You act so mature. You're more mature than I am. So yeah.
You have a better sense of humor than me though, for sure, because you can be sillier.
Yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, so I'm excited to dive in today. I got a couple questions for you though on just the hormonal hierarchy. So this was something that you posted on your stories years ago, honestly. I think it was like when we had first met through our business mentorship. And I remember like I knew about hormones from like having a degree in neuroscience and understanding the systems of the body, but not how it related then to fat loss and to weight loss, and especially not how the female body responds differently. And so the bottom of this pyramid, right, is insulin, cortisol, and I believe oxytocin is down there.
Oxytocin, which is, I would love to chat a little bit about that too, because the science behind that is so cool right now. So,
okay. Yeah. So those are the three at the bottom. And then we've got, what was it? DHEA in the middle and then something else.
Yeah. So, and then like the sex hormones. And then honestly, what I've realized, especially over the last 6 to 8 months of research, thyroid's a big one too, especially as we move more into some of perimenopause. Cause is your main audience mid-20s?
We target millennials. So most of the people that are working with us are that age cutoff is 28 to 42. So we have like couple years of overlap with I think who you work with, right?
Yeah, but you know, even at the age range you're at, thyroid plays a big one because you're dealing with so many autoimmune issues now, and a lot of women that have Hashimoto's. You know, you're dealing with the PCOS stuff. You're dealing with, you know, a lot of the cortisol dysregulation, which I would love to talk about too, the insulin stuff, and this all is just. I think so many times people think it's like putting these little things into brackets, but it's all connected. And it's kind of like a whole trifecta, right? And then often a lot of this stuff will block fat loss, energy, honestly, make you feel like you're going insane sometimes. And as you know, and your audience knows too, you talk a lot about just how doctors are so dismissive and how it's like, oh, well, just, you know, the whole eat 1,200 calories and just exercise more. I'm like, shut up already. It's so outdated. So yeah.
Absolutely.
But I'd be happy to chat more about some of that stuff if you want me to. You want me to dive in a little?
What's before you do that, what's at the top of the pyramid then? What would you put as kind of like the final end of the cascade there?
I would honestly put the sex hormones more at the top.
Yeah.
Yep. I would put more because so many times people think, oh my gosh, I have to get on HRT right now. Where, and I'm sure even some of your girls, especially if they're coming off birth control or they're having irregular periods and stuff, it's like, oh, I need to get on I need to get on HRT. the thing is, once you're really kind of fine tuning the body, and then when we're talking about insulin and cortisol, we're also looking at liver detoxification, MHFTR stuff. We're also looking at, stress management, sleep, hunger hormones, cravings. I mean, again, these are like the big movers, but inside each one of these, there's so many little intricacies, so many moving parts within each individual one. But I
Mhm.
would say, yeah, I mean, I think so many times people put sex hormones in like these, like when we're referring to sex hormones, we're talking about estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and those are a bit more finicky in perimenopause. So yes, you're going to have some more fluctuations with estrogen and progesterone, which causes some imbalanced moods and periods and so forth. But from your generation, like around 28 to 42, you still have a good bit of hormone left in you. So I think it's more so to do with insulin and cortisol, especially now, given, again, just our environment and our stress load and the food
Mhm.
we eat. And then oxytocin's a big one too, which you just mentioned a second ago, which I would love to dive into as well.
Yeah. So I think kind of to give our listeners a little bit of a picture here when we say hierarchy, right? So I'm picturing this pyramid. We just kind of worked it up bottom to top. And kind of what we mean by that is that, the foundation of the pyramid is the big mover, is what you were saying,
Hmm.
right? Is like
Hmm.
these are the hormones that really do kind of run the show, or at least kick off the cascade that leads to other things. And
Hmm.
so again, a lot of times people are trying to pay attention to things that are at the top. And I actually have a pyramid that I've drawn out for like just lifestyle change, weight loss, where
Yeah.
like tracking your macros and your meal timing and your supplements are at the very top, but your
Hmm.
habits and your lifestyle really are at the bottom.
Huge.
And so it's the same idea, right? We're trying to like just finagle with stuff at the top when really we should be focused on the bottom,
Hmm.
because the effects of working with the things at the bottom will be a greater cascade that affects everything upstream, right?
Totally, totally. And let's be real, Marissa. I mean, we can talk hormones all day long, but you nailed it. And that's one of your zones of genius, I feel, is you're able to capitalize so much on, I mean, just the reality of the situation. Hey, it's not about these sexy hormones as it is. How's your lifestyle? How's your
Mhm.
sleep? How's your stress? Because those at the end of the day, they're not sexy, but those are the main dial movers. So when we
Mhm.
talk about this hormone hierarchy, yeah, like stress, if we're looking at the bottom, and stress is one of those huge ones as you talk about in lifestyle, that's directly correlated with insulin and cortisol, because those get completely dysregulated during times of high stress and go sideways when we're getting thrown off with our lifestyle. So it's all connected.
Yeah, exactly. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
something that you're not shy about either is talking about that consistently, is at the end of the day, the things that regulate our hormones is our lifestyle, right?
Totally.
So walk us through then the base of that pyramid. We've got insulin, we've got cortisol, we've got oxytocin. I'm super
Mm-hmm.
curious to hear about the third, but just kind of give us the groundwork of like how do those three hormones work together against each other when they're at the base of the pyramid?
Yeah, for sure. So I like to view insulin kind of almost like our fat storage gatekeeper. And so oftentimes people will villainize insulin and cortisol, but the truth is you
Mhm.
need both. And insulin's main job is to shuffle glucose, which essentially is sugar. So basically from your blood into your cells just for energy or storage. So when one thing I'm very passionate about, I don't tell people what to do, but I will tell people that they need to lift weights, as you know.
Mhm.
And when you're exercising effectively, you're not overtraining, you're not undertraining. The way I like to see it is, okay, you become more insulin sensitive, meaning an easy way to say it is like, hey, if you're going out and you're exercising and you're lifting heavy weights, so you're going, maybe you're doing some sprints or a run or whatever, you can get away with eating more carbohydrates, and it gets stored for energy and not stored so much as fat. So, I am a big believer in, carb cycling, or carb timing, I should say, especially given my age. But when we are, as a society, even if we're talking about the pyramid, we're talking about a food pyramid where the bottom is carbohydrates. People underestimate the importance of getting enough protein. And carbohydrates are cheap. They're easy to access. As I say, I don't know anyone that goes and starts binging on grilled chicken breasts. They're like, let me get in the pantry and grab chips, or they're so easily accessible and they're cheap. So we're so overfed most of the time, and we're also under like we're deficient in nutrients.
Yeah.
But again, with the insulin piece, then we're throwing in like PCOS and we're throwing in other hormonal stuff going on. But when we look at it, even starting at the age of 35, and I like to recommend where you ask your clients like, hey, okay, when did your mom go through menopause? So if your mom started
Mhm.
menopause at 35, then what you want to do is subtract about 15 years from that. So starting around 35, we've even had women come in starting perimenopause around 28. But
Mhm.
inevitably, you are going to start noticing that you're just going to become a bit more moody. Your periods might be more irregular. And this is a natural indication of an estrogen progesterone imbalance. And as estrogen naturally declines, estrogen is more insulin sensitizing. So with less estrogen, your body just is not going to respond to insulin, or your cells just don't respond to insulin as well. And this is why some women might say, hey, I'm just dealing with like this stubborn belly fat. Of course, that also is from cortisol and diet and lifestyle and stuff. But what often happens is when we're talking about insulin or insulin resistance, which you hear a lot of, it's your body is pumping out all this insulin, but basically your cells stop responding. So this is when you see chronic high blood sugar levels, your insulin stays high, you store more fat, especially in the midsection. So you see you're more apple shaped versus pear shaped. So you have maybe like skinny legs, but then you look like you're pregnant as well. And then this will even show up just on lab work. If you take it even a step deeper, high glucose will show, as well as high insulin. And if we talk about the dance with insulin and cortisol as well, when you're highly stressed, your insulin goes up too. So you really have to look at, okay, what's causing some of these issues. And I mean, Marissa, at the end of the day, the majority of it is just high stress, because it's,
Mhm.
as you know, the hormones, it's an orchestra. So when one gets thrown off, it throws the entire orchestra off. So it could be where you are really highly stressed, you're dealing with some sort of life situation, life event. So, sometimes women will say, gosh, you know what? Ever since I got that divorce, yeah, I lost weight, but now I've gained it all back and then some. Or ever since my mom died, like, a year later, here I am, I can't get the weight off. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Your body was on an immense amount of stress. You were in that fight or flight. I guarantee you weren't that hungry. And then it's just kind of like a backlash of that. But it's always a slow, gradual burn that I feel like a lot of women don't even realize is happening. And then the last thing I'll say too is when you are dealing with more insulin resistance, you are just going to be more hungry. So you're going to notice that you'll eat a meal and then you're still craving carbohydrates after that. Your hunger hormones are going to be thrown off a little bit. You're also going to have more inflammation. And then, again, this some of the insulin issues symptoms are tied to energy crashes, sugar cravings, belly fat that won't budge, and just feeling hangry between meals, not really feeling satisfied.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that helps. Have you noticed insulin issues within your clients and stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and like you said, like with the clients that we work with, there's just so much more. Honestly, like women in their early 30s having postmenopausal hormonal profiles,
Wow.
PCOS. We have one woman who her body was just not producing cortisol at all, and now it is,
Wow.
and we were able to reverse that. But just a lot of wacky shit in the millennial age range. And I think it's like you spent how many years on hormonal birth control, finally came off, and
Yeah.
your body doesn't know how to regulate itself, coupled with a super obesogenic environment,
Hmm.
portion sizes that are too large,
Hmm.
COVID, sedentary lifestyle, you name it, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think that is leading to a lot of autoimmune
Hmm.
surges, all of that. So it's a lot. And then insulin, I mean, it's just a really big role where we'll look at someone's blood work or their insulin's high, and it just completely explains the fact that, when we're I used to really help clients try to rely on hunger signals. And
Hmm.
for a lot of people, not everyone, but for a lot of people, have tossed some of that out
Yeah.
because we don't have reliable enough hunger signals, or we don't know the difference between a craving or physiological hunger,
Hmm.
or, and that then there's overlap with emotional eating
Yeah.
versus cravings from the body. And so
Mhm.
it's like peeling all that apart is like a full-time job in and of itself.
Isn't it?
So
I know.
it's like, why don't we get on a good meal schedule first with balanced
Mhm.
meals with high
I
protein
love
and
it.
fiber? And then we can feel the hunger signals that surface because of
Mhm.
that, because we're
Mhm.
regulating our blood sugar, right?
I love that. I mean, Marissa, you nailed it. Again, this is why I love you so much, because you make things sound so simple, like you simplify things, which is just genius. And you and I both know too that it takes a lot of time and practice to simplify. And when someone says is able to articulate something so effortlessly and easy, there's been tons and tons of reps behind it. So I commend you for that. And I mean, you nailed it right there, because you're right. There are many women that are like, I don't even know if I'm hungry. Like, what is hunger?
Yeah.
They're so disconnected from their ghrelin, which I kind of think of like the growl, the hunger
Hmm.
hormone in your stomach. But then yes, you're right. When you're dealing with so much inflammation and stress and all of those, half the time you don't even know if your hunger's coming and going. I even know, just running my own business, or I do really do a lot of work around just like sugar cravings and
Hmm.
just binge eating, because of my high stress, that it just got
Yeah.
completely exacerbated. So it is tough. It's like, okay, is it physiological or is it psychological, and a bit of both?
Yeah. And you know what I'll say too is like with, and I've shared a little bit with you about, and with this podcast, plenty about my hormonal health journey as well. But
Mhm.
with my dysregulated cortisol, I thought that like I was just so stressed that I was like stress eating at night before bed because of the business, because of like life, whatever. As soon as I started my protocol after getting my Dutch test back, confirming estrogen dominance, confirming dysregulated cortisol, like once I started getting the right nutrients in, gone. Like
Wow.
no more urge to snack on things at the end
Hmm.
of the day.
Hmm.
Like was able to just hit my macros. Like that's it.
Hmm.
And so for me, that was a weird, like, I thought it was all just mental. I
Mhm.
thought it was all just, oh, you just have to do the mindset work to fix
Yep.
that. Like, no, like that was physiologically driven. Like
Yeah.
that was a big light bulb
Wow.
for me.
Or do you mind sharing a bit more about that? Like, what specifically was like, oh wow, because to get the protein, obviously what you're doing. So what stood out specifically? Was it minerals? Was it
It
yeah.
was some minerals. I think definitely like I've always been a fan of ashwagandha, but getting
Mhm.
that back in the routine was
Mhm.
huge.
Mhm.
Definitely magnesium, B vitamins, and then
Mhm.
supporting estrogen detoxification
Mhm.
was big.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I kind of did that not all at once, but like layering them in day by day.
Mhm.
And I think it was really just a combination of the habit side of
Mhm.
morning sunlight, like the circadian habits, plus getting ashwagandha in there,
Mhm.
plenty of magnesium, plenty of B vitamins,
Mhm.
and then some estrogen, detox support, NAC,
Mhm.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, I love it.
Um,
I love it.
it was like it was literally night and day. Like my energy and my cravings, like those two things, just like 180'd.
And then you can you imagine having can you imagine not even knowing some of this stuff, or the fact that you have
Yeah,
access to it? And imagine so many women are struggling
that's
and
the
they feel
reality.
like something's wrong with them and they're getting dismissed and gaslit. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's why it's like that's why we're here, right? It's why we're so
Mhm.
passionate about it because
Mhm.
like if I'm this model of this and I had to
Mhm.
go through that, like imagine having, no systems for nutrition, no active lifestyle plus all of that. So
Mhm.
then walk me through, right? Because I think we can skip this part just for the sake of time. I've done a lot of episodes at this point on cortisol and how it wreaks havoc on the different systems of the
Yeah.
body, the HPA axis. I want to hear about oxytocin though at the base
Yeah.
of the pyramid.
I love it. So, I kind of like, oh, I mean, I love oxytocin so much. It's kind of like, the way I view it, it's almost like this hormonal hero that no one ever talks about. And people think, wait, how does this even tie to fat loss? They now even actually have oxytocin peptides, where you can inject oxytocin, which I really don't recommend, because you can find oxytocin free in many ways.
Yeah.
But oxytocin is essentially our connection hormone, or our hug hormone, and it helps balance cortisol and insulin. So oxytocin is mostly known for love hormone. So this is when we are snuggling, when we're cuddling. This is skin to skin contact. It's even petting your dog, having a deep conversation with someone, sex. This is a big one. It's like, yeah, skin on skin. This is really, really important. When a mother gives birth and she has that connection with her child, as you know, like after birth, they place the child right on the mother's chest just for that skin to skin contact. But oxytocin is huge. They've done numerous studies where children that are neglected growing up, or they haven't had that oxytocin, that connection right away with the mother, there becomes a lot of mental health issues and stuff, which is super sad. But here's what's super cool is that oxytocin, it's directly opposed to cortisol. So when oxytocin is up, what's going to happen? Your stress hormone, your cortisol is going to drop. So this means like less belly fat, better sleep, feeling more calm, improved insulin sensitivity. One thing I joke around with, can I say something a little inappropriate? If not,
Yeah, of
that's fine.
course.
Okay.
It
So,
wouldn't be you, but
so the way I see this is like oxytocin can be great, especially if you are like, gosh, you know what? It's kind of like going to the gym, and I correlate this with sex. So it's like, okay, I know I need to do it. It makes me feel better when I do it. And I was like, gosh, just like trying to like prime the pump to get yourself to do it. And it's like, okay, then once I do it, I'm like, why do I not do this more often? And then you're like, gosh, this was the best thing ever. I feel so much better. So it's kind of, it applies, right? So if you are able to have orgasm or have sex more frequently, it's such a connection hormone, and it does help immensely with cortisol. And then I will say, for people who have lower oxytocin hormones, and this is often for people that might not have a partner, or they lack a community of sorts. This is why I think community is huge. And this is what really got suppressed during times of COVID. But the more, or the lower oxytocin you have, you're going to have a higher perceived stress. So, and the more stress you perceive, the more cortisol pumps out in your nervous system, et cetera, leading to, again, the fat storage, the blood sugar dysregulation, so on and so forth. So oxytocin also helps a lot with sugar cravings. So, you can think you need sugar, but in a way, a lot of times it's like, all right, I just need a
just
hug.
need a hug.
Just need a hug. Just need a hug. So
It really
yeah,
is
yeah,
that
for
simple.
sure. And people often ask, okay, what does oxytocin feel like, right? So it's normally when we feel disconnected, or we feel withdrawn, even from people we love. We might be craving sugar or wine at night, which is a big one. Mindless snacking. What else? Like a deep sense of like something missing, anxiety, chronic overwhelm, even what like sex drive, like in the toilet. We actually had a lady come into the program about a month ago, and she said, like, I have zero, like she was super flat, super flat. And she's like, I have zero desire for sex. I don't even want my partner to touch me. I get disgusted, and I love my husband, but when I look at him, I'm like, I want nothing to do with that. And so she's like, actually, I have labs. So she had all these labs. Her oxytocin was completely in the toilet. Like she had none. So I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Um, and so people are like, okay, well, how can I actually boost that naturally? So hugging someone. So for like 15, 20 seconds, laughter is a big one. Orgasm, connecting with your pet, your loved one. People often underestimate the importance of sunshine, as you often talk about. Dance, creativity is a big one. Also doing for others. So acts of service, massage is a big one too.
Would you put spirituality, like religion, in
I
that
would, for
category?
sure. Absolutely. Because I feel like that allows you to tap into your soul and your creativity and a deeper sense of purpose.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And then I also think when you're tied into the spirituality side of things, it also allows you to have more deeper, intimate conversations with people, which boosts oxytocin even more.
Yeah.
hmm
Okay, so it's not just hugs and sex, like it's really just
Mm-mm.
connection, right?
Yeah.
I had a client, she's postmenopausal, and
hmm
she joined a pickleball league, and I was
Oh,
just
cool.
I told her, I was like, I'm really happy about this because like this is honestly, I think a missing piece because she works from home, she works for
Mhm.
herself, like she doesn't have anyone day to day other than her partner. And
Mhm.
so it's like having that community where you can just laugh and have fun,
Mhm.
like it's so
It's
underrated.
huge. And,
So
like something sometimes too, Marissa, I know you have it as well, where like when we're like, I'm doing all the things and they get so caught up in tracking the macros or doing the exercise or doing things perfectly. And then it's like, do you actually have joy in your life? Like, what do you enjoy? What do you do that's fun?
yeah.
And we often underestimate the importance of just having fun as an adult. It's so important.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, really, I mean, the big takeaway I have from that, I think, is and I think I had heard that before, but like this just brought it back to the surface. Oxytocin opposes cortisol,
Mhm.
so they can't both be high or low really at the same time.
Mm-mm.
So if you're feeling that love, that connection, like it's going to bring cortisol down, perceived stress down. Yeah, that's huge
It
because
is.
even just the perception of stress can really wreak havoc on our hormones, even if on the surface you're like, I have a great life. Like that's where I
Mhm.
felt like I was looking around, I was like, why am I stressed? Like I have a great life.
Mhm.
This is like, I was kind of like gaslighting myself in a way. I was
Yeah.
like, you should be fine, you should be grateful. Like
Mhm. I
but
know.
at the end of the day we can still perceive stress in
Absolutely.
anything.
I
So
know. I know.
that's huge.
It
The
is. It's
importance of
huge.
community, friendships, love, that's awesome.
I know. And like, I mean, I even forget who says this. I mean, I know there's multiple researchers that say this, but if, people die if they don't have that sense of
Yeah.
connection, like they need, and then your life is based on your partner and I
Mhm.
think who you surround yourself with and everything. It's so true.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then work us up this pyramid then. Like if our insulin and cortisol and oxytocin are all over the place, then can you kind of just give a bird's eye view of like how does that then trickle into all these other hormones that are kind of hot right now?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, so in simplistic terms, it's almost like it's a whole mishmash. You're going to, so when cortisol is high, progesterone is going to be tanked, and therefore you're leading with estrogen dominance, right? So a lot of what you experienced, and low progesterone increases anxiety. It creates more insomnia, and then it's this whole negative feedback loop because then when you can't sleep, then your hunger hormones are thrown off, and your cortisol gets dysregulated.
Stress is
So
higher.
it's just like a big mishmash. Your sex drives in the toilet. You can go to the gym, but you feel like you have no motivation. You can't build lean muscle. You feel like you can't concentrate. You just feel like a shell of yourself.
Mhm.
Because the way I see it too is like, yes, progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, those are all our important sex hormones. But a lot of it too is like, again, what's going on behind the scenes prior to that. And many women think, oh, I have this all the time. And it's gotten a lot better, but where, okay, well, I already know how to exercise. I already know how to eat. I just need to test my hormones. And then once I know what's going on with my hormones and I can start HRT, then I'll be fine. But the problem is these women say, well, I'm on bioidentical hormone, but I haven't lost weight or I haven't done this. I'm like, okay, yeah, no doubt, because you haven't addressed, X, Y, and Z. Because I think people think that, oh, once I just get on HRT, then everything's going to be fine. It's going to be this magic solution, but it never is.
Mhm.
There's so much more to the puzzle. But yeah, it's just this whole mishmash. I don't have like an exact like framework for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing that I kind of take from that too is like the HRT example is if you put HRT on it, and it can be a great solution for
Yeah.
people who need it, and like it has absolutely a time and a place. But if we are not addressing the root of what regulates insulin, cortisol, oxytocin,
Hmm.
then, we can be supplementing with that hormone, but
Hmm.
everything underneath that is still a mess.
Yeah.
And so you're still feeling the same way that you felt outside of maybe one little change with HRT with estrogen,
Hmm.
progesterone, testosterone. So I think it's like, let's see everything we can do with our lifestyle, our habits, our nutrition, our sleep and stress management. And then if we can get kind of insulin and cortisol as good as they can be,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
we still have like really bad, like low estrogen, or we're going through perimenopause and we want to get on HRT for that, then it's probably going to have a better effect too, would you say?
Totally, totally. Because then when we're talking about insulin and inflammation and everything, you're kind of just adding inflammation on top of inflammation. You might get this temporary hit. It might be like, oh, wow, I feel great for like a minute. And then you're back at square one again. You're like, well, let me try something else and something else. And then you're just like putting one band-aid over another on top of you. And it's like, okay, at what point do you have to do the work, right? As you know, nothing worth having comes easy, and you can't fast forward progress and you can't bypass it. So unfortunately, this stuff takes time. It takes work. It's never just, oh, a couple months and I figure it out. For some, maybe, but that's very, very unlikely, especially given a lot of us come in depleted, malnourished, underfed, exhausted, burned out. And it doesn't, you didn't get here overnight, and it's not going to get fixed overnight.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would you say then? Like, because I can even think of some people off the top of my head right now that like need to hear all this, but where do they start, right? So, what are some of
Mm-hmm.
the most overlooked habits, lifestyle shifts that actually bring insulin and cortisol back to balance?
That's such a great question. You know, the first thing that comes to my mind is how much space do you give yourself? It's very easy if you have women that are overachievers, type A, always feeling the need to do. I'm right there with you. It's
Yeah.
very hard to shut that off, and it's hard to actually rest. And we think that rest is viewed as lazy, or um, we're just not worthy of it. Like, unless we're pushing and driving and doing, then we're essentially not good enough. And we know that never gets us anywhere. But that rest is just as important as pushing. There's a time and place to push, and there's a time and place to let off the gas and allow yourself just to be, and not feel the need to constantly fill your space with so many things, because then you're missing out on so much. And on top of that, you can't create from a place of urgency, or that fight or flight response, or that sense of chaos. You can't create from that space, nor can you really tap into your soul's calling. I mean, now that might sound cheesy, but it is true. I think the first thing women need to do is like almost like a time evaluation or a timesheet of, okay, in our minds we can say we're busy, 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 but what exactly are we doing? Is it just busy work? Are we convincing ourselves that we're busy when in reality it's just in our mind, but we're maybe not taking a lot of action? Looking at how much bandwidth do I have in my day to actually just relax and take a minute.
Hmm.
I think for a lot of women that's scary, because they feel like almost like a failure, or I'm not doing enough.
Well, I
Um,
think too, it's like a lot of us, and I will even make this broader. I think it's just people of our day and age in like such a distracted society, a
oh God, I know.
dopaminergic society, right? We need that dopamine hit.
Hmm.
Is I've noticed more and more like people are afraid to be with their own thoughts. They're afraid to
Hmm.
be in space, in silence. And so we fill it, right? And
Yeah.
so actually it was Eric Bach who
Oh
is a
yeah.
part of IFCA. I saw a story of his and I love the way that he put this. Like it was just a good simplification, like you say, of dead time versus alive time.
Hmm.
So he was like, I'm in the car picking up my kids from daycare or whatever. This is dead time, right? I can use this to listen to a podcast or I can scroll on my phone, right?
Hmm.
And so dead time is, how much of that do we have? How much are we just scrolling and things like that
Hmm.
versus actually pouring into ourselves, whether that's
Hmm.
with space or a walk or educational material or slowing down. So,
Or even just walking with nothing,
mm-hmm.
just silence. That you don't have to always be on and always do. Like, even if you're going for a walk, okay, great, listen to the wind, listen to the birds. Screw
Listen
having
to
to
your
put in an
thoughts.
educational podcast, you
Yeah.
know?
Listen to your thoughts and see what comes
Hmm.
up. And that can be
Yeah,
really, it's uncomfortable,
it
right?
is. It is.
Because at the end of the day, I think too, like, why are we rushing? Why are we so
Hmm.
busy? Like, what are we afraid of coming up here? And that's where a lot of people, we need spirituality, we need therapy, we need something to kind of process all of that.
Hmm.
But I mean, if you do that work, and that's I think where we get to like doing the work, like
Hmm.
it's that shit. But it really is valuable for our quality of life, for living a purposeful life, to do
Hmm.
that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So I've been bringing it back to that a lot lately, like with myself, with clients, like it's creating that space so that we can actually know ourselves in this
Yeah.
process instead of
Mhm.
just like blindly leading a rushed life.
Oh, for sure. And then before we know it, it's like we look back and we were chasing some goalpost that was constantly moving. It's like, really, is that what I wanted this whole time? What was it that I really wanted? What actually brings me joy? And sometimes people have no idea. And that's okay too. I'm still figuring it out. And I think it changes over time. But one thing I really try to apply is how's my energy in this state? How do I feel when I'm in these moments? And really paying attention to what lights you up, because to me your body can't fake it. You're either in or you're not. Of course sometimes we're tired and we just have to put on a game face, but like what really lights you up, what gets you excited, and do more of those things
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
versus, all right, yeah, this really sucks, I don't enjoy this, I don't like the energy in this space or whatever it may be. Like tap into that. We're so intuitive, we just don't give ourselves enough credit.
Absolutely. So yeah, overlooked habits, creating space, tapping into what really lights you up. And right, that doesn't mean like if you're 35 and you're like well into your career, that doesn't mean like go up and quit your job. However, I do have plenty of clients who are like in that process right now of like
I
trying
love
to
it.
find their calling. And I think that's a trend for a reason. But let's say you're just, you're in your career, you don't love it, whatever. It doesn't mean to ditch it entirely. It just
Right.
means to find pockets of time where you can pour into you. If it's like
Mm-hmm.
you like to play the guitar and sing, or you like to paint and do
Mm-hmm.
art or play
Mm-hmm.
sports, like whatever it is. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Any other like kind of overlooked habits that come to mind for you that are big ones?
I think sunshine is huge.
Yeah.
People underestimate the importance of sunshine and just getting out. Like I've been sitting all day and I've been sitting since 9 a.m. I haven't really gotten up until before we recorded this. I'm like, I've just got to get up and go for a walk. And I started the walk. I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner? I feel so much better.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's just, I would say just walking in sunshine, people underestimate that it doesn't have to be some monumental event. You don't have to go to the gym for 2 hours to make it count. Like just get outside and move your body.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That was the reason I felt better today, is because I went on a long walk before all of this. So,
Oh, I love that.
um,
It's so important.
yeah, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think just to close this out, then, what would you say, like, if a woman is trying to decide where to start? Like, what's the one thing she
Yeah.
should focus on first? Her stress, her blood sugar, or something else entirely?
Mm-hmm. I would have her do an inventory and look at all areas of her life. Okay, how is, like, almost like a pie. Okay, how is my spirituality? Do I feel fulfilled and in a good spot there? How are my relationships? Do I feel fulfilled within my marriage or my partner or my friendships? How's my physical health? Am I taking care of myself? Am I, really focused on my health and well-being? Of course, none all of these are not going to be 100%,
Hmm.
but I think just looking in an inventory and looking at what areas of your life feel like they're missing, or where do they feel a bit depleted.
Yeah.
I know for myself, if I'm pouring a lot into my business or just working a lot, my relationships get pushed to the side. And I feel that over time because we notice that we just are not in tune with our community. So I would first ask the woman to get curious where she feels like she's feeling depleted, whatever area that may be, and kind of tap into that, and find ways to, it doesn't have to be where you have to do all these drastic things overnight. Just little things can go a long way. All right, maybe I know this is like minutia or, minutia, but instead of like having, I don't know, like Chick-fil-A that you do every day and getting the fried chicken sandwich and the fries and the Coke, why don't you get the grilled nuggets and the salad, and maybe you have a small fry, or I don't know, just making little subtle changes, like going for that 15-minute walk versus
Yeah.
staying at your desk for the 15 minutes when you have some space. I don't know. There's nothing sexy about it. It's like all these little things add up over time. And it's just that compounded effect, like James Clear says, and
Yeah.
just focusing on one habit at a time and mastering that. And then when you master that, then move on, but stop trying to create some massive overhaul where you're just setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Beautifully
Mhm.
said. And I think goes right with the theme of our podcast and our message, right? Is small
Mhm.
changes really do add up. And I think starting with that time audit and that life audit, I know I'm picturing the wheel that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'll do is I'll make a little Canva graphic, I'll make a PDF, I'll put it in the show notes. So when this episode releases, they can
Yeah,
download
love that.
the life audit with the different pie charts of your different sections of your life, so you
Mhm.
can take this from this podcast and take actionable information and go straight from
Mhm.
here and
Mhm.
take the next step.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, and I would like to know because I would like to see that too. I'm visualizing it, but I just can't pinpoint
Yeah,
exactly what it's called. Yeah.
yeah, I've done it before, so I know exactly. I just need to throw it together. So
Yeah, I love it.
cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Kim, thank you so much for today, for this interview, for just sharing your knowledge with us. Is there any shameless plug that you have, or anything that you've got going on
Gosh.
that you want to mention?
You're so sweet. No, not that I can think of. Just if anyone has questions, feel free to reach out. Obviously, you're in great hands with Marissa. She knows what she's talking about. And yeah, I just encourage you to continue to follow her, listen to her stuff. But if you want to find me on Instagram, feel free. And that's about all I have. I have tons of freebies if they want that. So whatever feels good.
I've downloaded your freebies myself. So I'll throw
Very good.
Kim's Instagram handle in the show notes so you can follow her there. Definitely recommend it. And she's got a great sense of humor too. So you'll
Oh, I
enjoy following
appreciate you.
her.
I
And
appreciate you so much.
you too. All right. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you back here for the next one.